This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, it is 6:03. I will now call to order the August 26th meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. This meeting is being recorded. This meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted in person and simultaneously via remote participation online to the greatest extent possible. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the online meeting ends abruptly, both the in-person and online meetings will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. Before we get started, I just want to confirm that we have one commissioner who is joining remotely this evening, Commissioner Weeks. So we do have 5 members present. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to public hearings. Our first item is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by GZA Geo-Environmental on behalf of Crown Meadow Corporation at Holly Circle and Crestview Drive, map 166, lots 75 through 80, 83 through 89, and map 171, lots 14-1, 14-2, 15 through 22, 25 through 29. Mass DEP file number 1510327. This had previously been continued at the applicant's request to 8/26, which is today. I understand we have a request for further continuance.
Yes, they requested continuance to the November 18th, 2024 meeting.
Gracious. Motion to continue to the, what meeting again? November
18th.
November 18th.
Do we have a second?
Joins us live in studio. Kiara, how did the Academy kick off their first game?
Well, Nick,
I'm hearing some weird noise from somewhere.
this morning, and the students look very happy to be back at production history.
Hal, it's possible is there some background coming from your side, perhaps?
I've just shut things down, so hopefully not.
We have one other. All right, so we have a motion on the table to continue to 11/18. All those in favor, Commissioner Buttrick?
Aye.
August? Carr?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Motion carries, so that item will be continued to November 18th. Our next item is a public hearing for a notice of intent filed by the Berkshire Design Group on behalf of the Community Builders, Inc. for a new housing development at 385 Main Street, map 154, lot 32-1. This is Mass DEP file number 1510330. We did have a request for a continuance of this item as well. But before we do that, I did want to note that per some concerns that were raised at the last meeting, we did request additional information and look into the abutter notification process to make sure that everything was in line. And everything does appear to be in order in terms of who was notified and the notice they received. So I think we've allayed any concerns there. Anything further to add to that, Ava?
Not on the topic of abutters.
Okay. And we had scheduled a site visit for last Saturday, but there was some miscommunication about the time and the applicant was not there. So we need to reschedule that. So I wanted to poll commissioners on availability over the next couple of weeks. I know that this coming weekend is a holiday weekend and I am not really available. So I thought maybe we would look at the week after that, which puts us where in time?
It's September 7th and September 8th. And the applicant has stated that a representative from BDG could be there on either day.
Okay.
Pretty much any time.
I would have Saturday the 7th look for both.
It's okay now.
Yeah, I would prefer the 8th just due to my selfish flying interests.
Sunday the 8th, I have to be somewhere at 9, so I would need to be done by 8:30, which is probably pretty ambitious.
I could make the 7th if we do it early on.
Sorry, what's that, Hal?
I'd be willing to try to make it the 7th if we could do it early in the morning.
Okay.
6.
Dan is proposing 6 a.m. I could do 6 at either day. Regretfully, not willingly.
I cannot do 6 on the same day this month.
Oh, well. Other thoughts from other commissioners who would like to be at the site visit? Or Ava as the agent,
I can-
preferences?
No, I can do either Saturday or Sunday
Okay.
in the morning. I can do either.
Preference is Saturday.
Now, if we did 8:30 again, does that work? Is it helpful if we push it to 8?
I'll make it work.
Okay. 8 or 8:30 preference?
8 o'clock, please.
Work for folks? Okay.
Sounds good.
Ava, can you do 8 on Saturday the 7th?
Yes. And I'll communicate that to BDG.
Great. Okay. All right, any other logistics before we vote on the continuance that was requested by the applicant? Can we have a motion to continue to our next meeting would be September 9th?
Motion to continue to September 9th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Buttrick,
Aye.
August,
Aye.
Clark, Weeks,
Aye.
carries. So we'll have the site visit on the 7th immediately prior, and then we'll reconvene on that matter at 6 p.m. on 9/9. All right, our next item is a public hearing for request for determination of applicability filed by James Gracia, sorry, I should know this. I've heard your name a million times. On behalf of the Christopher Pierce Estate for a septic system repair at 48 Clapp Street, map 112, lot 36. This request was filed on 8/12. You want to introduce yourself for the record?
Sure. My name is Jim Gracia. I live at 99 Glendale Street in Easthampton. I'm a civil engineer. Did the septic system design for this property in 1995, and same owner. He subsequently died about a year ago, and his widow was trying to get rid of the property. So we had to test the septic system that failed the septic inspection, and we are proposing to replace the septic system, and basically the same location, a little further back on the lot.
Like your septic system last year.
Yeah. Now this one was due. Few reasons, but prior to shortly after 95, the original owner subdivided his lot, and all this went to the next lot over. So this wetland and the swale was all part of this lot at one point in 95, but we chopped it off. So we can stay out of the 50-foot setbacks on the wetland boundary with a leaching system and all of the septic system.
And the wetlands, I know you had the old line on here, but the wetlands were redelineated this summer, is that correct?
Yeah, I just tried to recreate the appropriate area. And it was the part that affected the septic system.
Were they delineated by a wetland scientist or just?
In 95, I believe we had to have filed an NOI, although those were the days when it was paper files, and I don't have any. I can't find my records from that time. But it would have been a friend of mine who is a wetlands biologist. But I put these 10 flags in myself.
Okay.
So I know I apologize because I've done very little with Title V. I think now you designate like 2 different areas, like a primary area for the soil absorption system and then a backup.
Yeah.
Was this area considered as a backup at that time, or is that on an older set of rules?
At the time, in theory, the reserve, they call it a reserve, it was between the old trenches.
Oh, I see.
never really, nobody ever did it between the trenches. There wasn't enough room. Since then, they changed the code. They've spread the widths out between the trenches. So technically, for the trench system, you could put new trenches in between. I chose to come further in the yard and put a longer and narrower leach field.
And this is current like grassed yard, basically.
It's all lawn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does flow toward the wetland. It's pretty well-defined swale fed by groundwater and storm drainage from Clap Street. The pipe that discharges here, this catch basin from the street out here, and it just works its way down. It eventually gets into a stream, and then that flows to the main river.
Ava, have you looked at where we are relative to wetland resources?
Yeah, the delineation here appears to be similar to what I've seen on Mass Mapper and Easthampton's GIS.
And where are we relative to riverfront? Are we firmly outside of riverfront, or do we?
Yeah,
I'm not actually sure.
I didn't locate it, but it's
Can we pull it up
the
on?
nearest
Yep.
perennial stream is down here.
Okay.
So
we don't deal with this very often, so I was looking up the regs just before the meeting. Replacement septic systems, which this is,
yes,
are presumed to be, what does it say? Presumed to protect the 8 interests of the Act if they comply with Title V, and if none of the components of the system are within inland resource areas proper and set back at least 50 feet horizontally from the boundary of such areas and not located within 100 feet of the mean annual high water line, aka riverfront, unless there's no alternative location on the lot which conforms to Title V. So I want to check where we are relative to riverfront, and then I have, because how close are we to the 50-foot line?
this dark line here is the 50, so I'm squashed against it. I could narrow this up a little bit more, give you a little more separation, and it'd have to be longer. Make a difference. But
So this is the closest point, right?
yeah, right here, yeah,
And approximately, what is that scale on here?
a couple of feet or so.
Couple of feet, okay. So given that these flags are based on the 1995 delineation and weren't replaced by a wetland scientist, we may need to take a closer look at where that boundary is, since we're just on the verge of whether we meet these regulations. But let's also see where riverfront falls, if you can pull up Mass Mapper.
Yes.
Okay.
Make it bigger.
Yeah, you should be able to preference that over Hal, who's currently half the screen.
What do you need me to do?
It's not your fault, Hal. We just need to adjust settings here. You were showing up very large and we couldn't see the map.
So the stream, it's kind of under this hatched area, but it's down here, and it's not right. It's not up against the corner of the lot. It's further over, but it just keeps going.
Which stream is this?
It's an unnamed stream. It crosses Clap Street further up. Somewhere up near the old canal. College Bridle Path.
So that Ashwaubenon Brook, is it?
I've never seen a name for,
Does it cut through the golf course?
This is it.
Zoom out a little bit further. Yeah. That is Nash Brook. I think. Yeah, it comes right through the.
Yeah,
that's
there's
Nash
the golf
Brook.
course. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's the one. Oh,
So,
I didn't realize.
In the golf course, I know that is an intermittent stream, but I think we would need to run stream stats to confirm and check USGS. Have you looked at USGS to see if it appears?
I haven't, but I'm pretty sure it's.
Okay. If it is perennial at that point, then we'll need to measure back to see where we are relative to riverfront, and maybe Ava, you could probably do just a quick estimate to see where 100 feet falls.
Yep.
Just, I wonder if we
Could
can,
remove that.
yeah.
Mm,
Sure which, there you go.
yeah, we can see under it.
A little bit better sense of where the stream is.
It's from here. Maybe from the edge. 200 feet.
And 100 is the,
100 is what
is what's in question here, yeah.
That's too,
Yeah.
pretty much the end of the new system. I mean, it's a good 15 to 20 feet lower in elevation than this yard.
So 100 feet would be about here.
And I assume, Jim, that the trees and the topo that we're seeing here is probably approximately reflective of the tree line we're seeing on the aerial.
Yeah, yeah. I located these two trees because they're significant, but this
Okay.
just drops right off straight down.
All right, so it seems like we are significantly outside the 100 with where you're falling. So the only question then is the wetland line and the 50-foot, which is quite close at that edge. And it looks like topography changes sharply here as well. So that may be a pretty easy thing to field confirm, that the boundary doesn't go up any higher. You haven't done a site visit yet, have
I
you?
have
Oh, you
done a
have?
site visit. Yep.
Okay.
Can pull up those photos.
Yeah, why don't you show us what you've seen? That may clear this up pretty quickly if we can clearly see a delineation of
Mhm.
topography there.
When this in 95, when I did this originally, because there was a house here, but there was no disturbance along this swale in the 20 some odd years since then, 30 years, whatever it is. The previous owners filled a lot of the stream in with branches and brush, leaves. And, some of those flags are kind of estimated within the piles of leaves.
Okay.
So this is just looking out at at the proposed septic spot.
So this is sort of from
This is from the
the
back
deck
of the
area back.
house.
Okay.
Yeah, precisely. Another view of that.
Yeah, that's looking down into the swale.
So
the pink flags,
that's the
are
edge.
those
Yeah.
the original? Or
No, the original ones are long gone. And they were blue at the time, but it's,
Is it your estimation of wetland?
yeah.
But based on the locations of the 1995 delineation,
Yeah.
correct?
I mean, I've taken the courses with Ralph Tyner
Okay,
and that gang, but that was quite a while ago.
okay.
I don't do it all the time.
Just, you have a 10-foot setback from the property line, right? That's as
Yeah.
far as you can go that way. So
Yeah,
farther away, you'd have to go longer, basically.
yeah.
So we're kind of looking down into the swale here.
Okay.
You can see the edge.
Yeah, it's,
There's another one of the flags.
And that's a pretty steep bank dropping down.
It is quite a steep bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it's not, can you go back one more?
Yeah.
Between this flag and the one before it is all this brush hanging over.
Yeah.
It looked pretty straight. So I just got a representative spot on both sides. It's an ankle buster going, trying to get through there to the stream, or to the swale.
Which direction are we, the property in question is to the left here?
Yeah, it'll be up here, this side.
Straight. And then looking down. And this is kind of at the back.
Yeah, toward
Towards
the
the
end,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, of the, looking down.
This is like,
So it's a pretty narrow kind of gully, it seems like.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
And it rises on the other side.
Yep.
And this is at the far back.
yes,
And which the home is where in this image?
it's way up in the front up here.
Okay. Is that a flag, that reddish dot, or something else?
That is a flag.
There's one there, yeah. Tree fell on it since I put the flags in.
And so sorry, go back a second. Yep. So in that case, the flag is indicating that the wetland would be where?
right there. That's because it's the little swale is on the other side of this, on that side of the flag, and it kind of loops around. I'm not sure which one that is.
Is that helping?
Did finish looking at it.
Yeah, it kind of wraps around here.
You could see fern. I think there was jewel.
There was still in their photos, yeah.
Ava, would you say that there would be wetland in the foreground here? Or are you comfortable with the location of that pin flag?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. It looks like this area down here could easily be wetland. So the same topography, so the same location.
I'm not sure which flag that is.
We don't.
If that was in here, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, do we have any idea what number we're talking about?
This bend here, there's a big tree right on the end and the swale goes around it.
This one, I think we couldn't actually make out the number. This is 4.
Okay, so that's further
Wow,
around.
you can see that. Yeah, here, can you see that here?
Yeah, I can see 4.
Okay, that's one of the
4.
ones.
Yeah, and so-
Question then,
Yep.
Yeah,
and that was further. That's not the picture we were just talking about.
No. So what I followed the line, right? So I went from 4 to 5. But it's hard to see the numbers on the other ones.
Yep,
So this one is fine.
presumably.
And then I think we see 6 in the distance as well.
Well, yeah.
and that goes around the tree.
Kind of hopping around the tree, all right.
So a lot of the swale is under the brush here.
Yep, which is a separate thing we may come back to.
Now I think we're back at,
So this would be either 7, yeah, probably 7. So we are at this point, we've got room to play with. I guess the area we're seeing is probably that same question as to whether it should have been flagged. And so if we brought this line out and continued it along here, we'd be kind of more. Actually, Jim, it almost looks like you did just jump across here with your line, your 50-foot offset. I don't see the same,
Well, they're so close together when you run the two circles around there, they overlap, so.
either way, I think we're probably fine, because this would be the area that would be debatable,
Yeah.
right? Do you agree, Dan?
Yeah. Like these two flags are really important.
Yeah.
And I guess if this flag were like really should be up there.
Yeah,
it doesn't
but it's
feel
not
that
gonna
way.
be with the topo as it
Right.
is.
Yep.
Okay.
It's hard to see the slope on the picture.
Mhm.
it is. This might be the last flag. Oh, no, one more. It's the same one.
So how big does a septic system have to be? Does it depend on the home?
It depends on the number of bedrooms and
Okay.
serving 110 gallons per day per bedroom. This house has got 3 bedrooms and there's a room in the basement that's been finished that could be considered a bedroom. So I'm using 4 bedrooms for the house and then there's an apartment over the garage. It's another bed. So
This
this has been
is
designed for
large.
5 bedrooms.
Larger than it was previously.
Yeah, it
in
was designed for
95.
3 in 1995.
And Ava, the areas where there is the steep slope down,
Yeah,
are you comfortable with where the flags are generally?
I think so. I might want to go back and take another look to verify the ones that it would be specifically 2, 3, and 4. Is that right?
Those are the ones where it gets
The-
close.
the
Yeah.
ones.
It looks on the plan like those sit basically right at the edge of slope.
Right.
So there wouldn't be
That much room.
probably that is the break-in slope is probably the
Yeah.
edge.
Yeah.
If I follow the, especially in this area, follow the contours elevation wise, where we ended up with the groundwater and the test pits up here, they're about the same. Might be a little bit lower. You know, if I got groundwater at, I don't know what the elevation was.
Yeah,
but
it's not, I think it was like, I want to say 100 inches.
pretty
Does that
close
sound
to
right
where
or way
the
off?
contours. Stay down there.
I'm actually not seeing.
Groundwater 117.8. So. I'm lucky that 117 is here. Almost 118. But I got it up here. So this is the 118 contour. Here. 19. Missed it in there. Anyway, it's pretty close. I mean, if I was hitting groundwater up here at, you know, at 2 or 3 feet higher, you know, I'd expect this to be higher too.
Right.
But it
Yep.
was pretty close.
Do you want to take another look or are you comfortable with where it's at?
I think given the slope line, I feel comfortable with that.
Okay. All right. I think so I think if we're comfortable with these flags, those are the critical ones. This, we've got some wiggle room. We know that we're well outside of the 100-foot riverfront, assuming that Nash Brook is perennial at that location. I think we're okay as far as these requirements. And it's not our purview whether you're in compliance with Title V. That's
Right.
someone else's jurisdiction. Other questions from the commission?
No, we're gonna crush the top, fill it in with dirt. It's right under a tree. We planted a tree on top of it. Many years ago, no, about it, 10-inch, what was it? Locust, it's a locust. It's kind of sentimental to the widow. She didn't want it cut down, so we're kind of working around it. And her husband planted it, so. But
Is that tank too small to reuse or,
no, it's just that it's partially under the tree. The baffles were cut off, so it was due.
So once this is dug up, what does it look like after? Does it go back to what we saw or does it turn into lawn?
It's still gonna be long.
It's lawn now.
It's lawn.
This is what we're looking at right here. This is the,
This will be the new system here. The old system is closer to the house. So the new system will be right about here.
So
Are
what
those
we-
your test pit locations?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we were looking at is we just want to see how far away.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, our only jurisdiction with regards to a replacement septic system is that it's outside certain setbacks. So we were trying to confirm those setbacks.
Okay. So those areas won't be,
Those would not be touched. Yeah, you can see the siltation barriers is here. This would be the outer boundary work. And I imagine you probably wouldn't even get very close to that.
We don't have to. I just, because of the equipment, you know, I gotta have room to stockpile some materials, soil, topsoil, so we'll probably put that back here. And then when it gets all the stone and the pipe and everything, you know, just bring it back in. But, you know, we still gotta get around here with equipment. So I didn't want to crunch them too much with the silt area.
so the stockpiles on the lawn.
Yeah, it'll be just, he'll strip it off and put it here, all the topsoil. It's a pretty good amount of topsoil. This used to be cornfields many, many years ago. But, fair amount of topsoil, so he'll strip it back, save it. And then he's got to dig it out, he's got to haul some stuff out and put the new system in, and he can put that same topsoil back in.
And your access would all be through existing lawn and driveway?
Yeah, it's gonna be through here. It's tight, but, it's the only way to get in there.
Do we need to verify if it's a permanent?
Since we're more than 100 feet away from it anyways, it really doesn't matter. We can just assume that it is and know that we're outside the 100 foot.
Yeah, I've just seen it many times over the years. It's at this location.
Do we need any conditions or silt fencing or anything to protect?
Silt fence is shown
Is that-
already, so we can condition that erosion controls be installed as shown on the plan.
I'll be working with the contractor. He thinks we can squeeze that silt fence because he'll put it in first before it does anything else. He thinks we can squeeze it up a little bit. I'll keep this. He'll get a minute for it to work. Because he doesn't want to disturb any more than he has to because he's only got to do it again after.
Right. And then the sort of side question that isn't necessarily directly pertinent to your RDA request is the deposition of material that's occurring in the wetlands where they're flagged, the things that we were seeing in the swale. So that I think is a separate discussion that we may need to have now that that's been brought to our attention.
Mostly branches and leaves, stuff like that.
Which are not allowed to be deposited in a wetland resource.
You know, this is, the tree line is probably, I didn't really show the tree line, but this tree I located because it's substantial, but it kind of weaves right along the top of the slope. So, you know, what's in there is, you know, stuff fell off the trees that are on that tree line. So I know there's leaves that gets raked in there too, but.
So I guess my initial thought on handling that would be that we deal with the RDA separately. And then, we could send a letter to the homeowner regarding maintenance and, the need to stop pushing material into that wetland area.
She lives in Florida. She's not planning to move back here. She's trying to sell this property. It was her husband's property. Her name is not on it. She will get it eventually, but they're still working out the details because it was only in his name.
Is it rented?
There was an apartment upstairs in the garage that is now at the end of the month, and it moved out. Because
So it's just empty.
it's empty now. The house has been empty for about a year. I mean, she came up here for a couple of weeks at the beginning of the summer to try to get the house ready to sell. And then she did the septic inspection and found out that they need to replace the septic system. So that kind of slowed things to a crawl. There was no health agent for a long time.
So if the home is not in her name, so is it in probate?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I talked to Chris's lawyer, Margo Welch, and I asked her what the situation would be. And she said, it's all in his name, but this paper's been filed by Claudia's lawyer to transfer it over because she's his legal heir. So I don't know how that works.
So that begs the question of who we would issue an enforcement to. This is a new one.
Yeah.
So would it go to the estate of the present owner? Yeah. So because doesn't it follow a line?
Yeah.
If they don't end up doing it, would it be the next?
Well, the only person we can issue it to is the owner of record. And if the owner of record is deceased, I don't know what happens.
Yeah, then kind of, it probably would put the property in some kind of like.
Which
limbo.
also, I guess, begs the question of who is the, I mean, you have to have a property owner's signature. So she has, do we have legal documentation giving her the right to sign off on this?
Well, that part of it, I don't know. I didn't put this in, but I emailed this to her and that was her signature on what she sent back to me. I didn't put it in the hard copy, but.
Can you look at the assessor's page and see who shows up as the owner?
Sure.
We went through that and
Okay.
I asked Chris's lawyer what the situation was, but now there's another lawyer involved on the other side, so I can't tell you what that situation is.
Could you get one of them lawyers to give us a little email that says that somebody has the authority to sign this paper?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna need something
Yeah.
because we have to have the owner's signature to issue.
We wouldn't want anybody to go replace septic systems on other people's property without permission.
I mean, that's probably not a bad thing.
It's funny that the year before he died, transferred, well, it used to be in his name and his mother's name.
Christopher Pierce.
Okay.
So the year before he died, his mother's name came off the deed. And then he got cancer and he died. In short order. But being a lawyer, can't tell you what the next step is with that.
Yeah.
They were legally married.
They're married, but her name was, our kid been living here. Maybe married her later in life.
But if they were
I
married,
think
It will go to her.
It's
I
the
just don't know
deed.
the process.
so I think we either need, I think, something from one of the lawyers indicating that she has signature authority over the property.
Yeah.
Or we need some input from DEP or perhaps both
Okay.
before we can act on this.
I'm pretty sure I can get her lawyer to write something up. At
Okay,
least give me an opinion on it.
Okay. and then I would assume if she has authority to act as the owner, that we would be able to issue and discuss the enforcement order matter with her as well. And I'm not sure that we would necessarily need to issue a formal enforcement order, but we would want to issue a letter and a cease and desist with regards to any dumping of vegetative material into the wetland areas.
Be honest, cleaning it out, some pretty more problems than leaving it to actually break down. Although, making it well known that you can't do it anymore is definitely.
Did you have any thoughts on that piece, Ava? Did you happen to consider that when you were doing the site visit?
I didn't. Yeah. But I can do another site visit and get some more illustrative photos on just how much vegetative matter we have in the resource area.
Okay. And I think also, I mean, it's hard to tell, that image makes it look like it's really a pile of sort of dense pile of debris pushed over the edge, but some of the others, it looks more like sort of scattered sticks and things. So I think it'd be helpful to get a sense of your thoughts on what kind of impact it's having and whether it needs to be removed or if it's just something that should be a cease and desist kind of matter.
Yeah.
I mean, if the rest of the lot was treed, I could see, bringing branches from the other side of the lot and dumping them in the angle is not right, but everything that's in there is probably what fell out of the trees lining this swale. So it's not like there were branches transported from other parts of the lot and deposited there.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to get Ava's opinion on, because some of it looks like piles that have been pushed over.
Yeah, well, I'm
Some
sure
of
there
it
was some
less
leaves
so.
blowing in there with a leaf blower or
Yeah.
something.
And then I guess the other thing, because this is not a formal delineation and the property may change hands, I want to make sure that we note that we're not approving the specific wetland flag locations, because then they would stand for 3 years. And since it wasn't properly delineated by a wetland scientist, I want to make sure we know that. But otherwise, I don't think I have any specific concerns with the septic replacement.
I agree with all of that.
Okay.
I mean, the rest of this lot down in here is pretty much undevelopable. There's a house way up here near the road. This is the backyard, probably ends about here. So the rest of it's just can't get at it to do anything with it.
I had a question about wildlife habitat, if this could pertain to this. We had something else where there was debris that had fallen into the river, and it had been there for so long that we discussed if it got pulled out, it could disrupt whatever life had formed around it or was using it. Some of those spots look like they've already sort of formed into an area where, I don't know, creatures could be living. I'm not sure, but when you got close up to certain trees in certain areas, it looked like everything was already formed. But I don't mean the big brush pile, but some of the other things. So unless Ava could look and see if there's anything that shouldn't be removed, is that a possibility?
Yeah, I want to get her sense of
Okay.
generally what she's seeing there.
Because like with the you know, how old is it?
Mhm.
You know, and it has things formed in the meantime. That was my only question.
But there's also, I mean, you could have, that material will degrade over time and break down, but as it breaks down, it's adding elevation to the wetland, which covers and buries the wetland soils, and then it ceases to function as a wetland if enough of that happens. Right. And so it may be providing habitat for upland species, but our job is to protect the wetland resource.
Okay.
Right. So that's what we need to look into.
Okay.
We don't want it to get filled in over time and cease to be a wetland.
Yes.
May I borrow the blue pen? Let's pass that down to me so we can write some things here. I think we're ready to make a decision on this, right? Separate from or no, we're not. I'm sorry. We need, my mistake. We need property. We're a convoluted scenario.
Decision, would we call
We're
it
smarter
a negative
ourselves.
determination? Because it doesn't lead to any of an actual.
Determinations are a little confusing.
Do we have a copy of the decision forming?
I don't think I have one for you,
Okay.
but I think it was.
I don't have those in front of me. I think we would be dealing with a decision that thing is within the buffer zone.
Yep.
I forget what that is, but then we'd want to add a couple of conditions to it.
Yeah, it's a type 3B3, B type 3.
Okay. So after that rather convoluted discussion, the primary thing that we need from you, Jim, is some sort of letter documenting ownership or the right of Claudia to act in the role of owner.
Okay.
You may also want to reach out to DEP or coordinate with Ava to reach out to DEP and get some clarification on how we handle this.
Okay.
But I think between those two approaches, we should be able to get to the bottom of it pretty quickly, hopefully. And then I think we have everything else we need. You're going to take a look at the debris deposition question, so we know if we need to take further action there.
Yep.
And what that looks like. And that should take care of it.
Okay. I was hoping to close it tonight, but
I know.
you can't.
I think without the ownership question, I think we could handle the enforcement separately, but I need to know that we actually have an official application here.
To be honest, I don't see removing anything is going to do any good, but preventing anything new from being dumped in there.
And that may be what we
Way.
request. But my bigger concern is just making sure that the ownership is squared away so that we can give you the authority to do this work.
Yep. Okay.
And then we will be more than happy to see the septic system get updated to one that is today's standards and the right size for the house.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell me when you want to go out there.
Sounds great. Thank you, Jim.
I'll bring you coffee and everything.
Not
Right.
allowed to accept anything.
I know, except gifts.
$50. You can do $50.
Thank you, Jim.
$49.95 coffee, right?
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. All right, where did we go?
This guy is free.
All right, our next order of business would be request for certificate of compliance. Easthampton Park Solar One LLC, 232 Park Street, Mass DEP file number 151293. Ava, do we have what we need to act on this? I believe we do not.
No,
correct?
they have also requested a continuance.
Okay.
Let me hold that up. Yeah, they've requested a continuance, 2 meetings ahead to the September 23rd, 2024 meeting. And the update I have for that is that the applicant has told me that they need to establish a new primary contact with Soltage.
Okay. All right, so we have a request by the applicant to continue to 923.
Motion to continue to 920C3.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, Patrick?
Aye.
August?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Curious, we'll revisit that on the 23rd. Our next item is request for certificate of compliance from the Easthampton School Committee, Mass DEP file number 151305, for construction of a new school building and associated stormwater system at 200 Park Street. What's our update there?
Yes, there was. We have an updated O&M plan, and I went to the site, photographed the removal of materials. So the updated O&M plan is right here.
You ask for that to be signed. We know whose signature it is. I can't read it.
Yeah, it's Lawrence Carnes. Larry Carnes. He's the director of facilities for the city.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Joel. I didn't realize that you were on.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us, Joel.
No problem.
All right. I believe that was the only thing I had noted that was missing. Do you have anything else, Ava, that you were expecting?
I think the only other thing was the removal of the materials. I think we had photos from them at the last meeting showing the removal of the materials. I also went to just remove to verify that the material had been removed. And it looked removed. Oh, you can't see that yet.
Does
Does it look like we have what we need in there?
Does there need to be something written in the O&M about no dumping in the underground? Or is this just something we?
The file for the school.
Oh, I can just pulled it out. Just look at that one. Yep.
Yeah, what were we looking for exactly? These are
Yeah, I can read that. It needs to include the snow storage plan. That's the only thing detailed in the condition itself. We should have approved an O&M plan prior to construction, correct? Use Cassie's memory.
We don't have.
We don't know either, and we were here.
This would be in the OLC.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the right thing. This is a planting maintenance procedure.
Mhm.
Well, we're not actually seeing stormwater O and M attached to this document.
Okay, yeah, I think the condition in the order was specific to the snow storage plan. And I don't think that they had anything else specified, in the project in terms of an O and M related to stormwater. I think the city typically handles that. Most of those O and Ms that we do go for like the school grounds personnel.
I'm sorry, what do you think that the city usually handles?
Like the city's DPW would do more like the stormwater maintenance.
My understanding is that the city does not maintain stormwater systems at the schools do. That's the
Okay.
concern with making sure that we've got the right person signing off, that they understand their obligations here to maintain the systems.
Okay.
And we certainly should have had a stormwater O and M plan at some point.
We did discuss the snow storage at length, because there were only certain areas where they were going to.
Yeah. And that, I think, is that attached here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks.
Yeah, the snow storage plan is what's in there. That was prepared by the design team.
Right. I assume this was originally at a larger scale that was legible.
I have it. Do you want to up on the screen?
I would like to have in the file a larger legible.
Apple version.
But yeah, we need a full O and M plan for the site, including the stormwater features.
Okay. Do you have like common language that would typically end up in an order of conditions that would outline like what specifically would be included in that O and M?
It's detailed in great detail in the stormwater handbook.
The stormwater handbook. Okay.
There must be an existing one.
There must be,
That
yeah.
we would approve, and all we need is the signature from the whoever is doing the maintenance for the school committee on that O and M plan, wherever it could be.
Right, yeah, I'm looking for it here because it should have been already submitted and approved.
To be the stormwater O and M plan.
Right,
That's what
Yep.
we're looking for.
Yeah, yep.
It could be something that the project's civil engineer would have prepared during the design phase as a deliverable for the commission. And that might explain why it wasn't specified within the contract documents for like the site contractor to provide one. So it could be that there's an existing that was prepared early on.
There's a stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Not the same.
It's-
Water plans.
Yeah, typically this would have been the design team doing during permitting, like the main phase of the project, so we wouldn't generally expect the contractor to be preparing these kinds of documents.
Yeah, I mean, when Niche filled out I believe Niche is who filled this out. Yeah, the checklist for stormwater report, standard 9 operation and maintenance plan is checked off. But the post-construction operation and maintenance plan is included in the stormwater report and includes the following. And they did not check off all of the items that they perhaps should have, but it was definitely developed at some point. I'm just not sure where it is. We're just. The appendix C. I'm not finding the appendices here. E. Developed in 2019. In Niche Engineering's June 24, 2019 site engineering report. Index C. Okay. Which appears at first glance to have, very first glance, but it appears to have what is needed outside of the snow storage, which was specifically required, and then it needs to be signed by the appropriate facilities manager.
There's signature lines in there.
I don't see the signature lines now. It'll need a signature line added.
If it would be at all possible for someone to get that to me, I could have a signature line added and get that signed by the school.
Did
I
you
need to
sign that
find our
electronically?
I haven't yet, but I will look for it.
Okay. We will look for that.
Presumably we have it somewhere in here.
Yeah. Or, well, do you have contacts at Niche that
Yep.
you've been working with on this project? It might be more expedient to reach out to them.
Sure. Yep, I can do that.
We can look too, but that may be faster.
I'm sorry to ask you to do this, but could you read the name of that, what the document was exactly named again?
It's the site engineering report that was submitted on June 24th of 19. And it was stamped by Matt Broussard.
It could have been revisions. I don't remember.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
But
This may not be the most recent version, but that's what I have in front of me.
but in there, it's an appendix, right? That's
Yeah.
the operation of this plan.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and Matt Broussard is still the niche contact. He appeared in front of the commission with me a couple months ago.
Great. Yep.
Yep.
That's what I thought. So yeah, but we should be able to track that down. That shouldn't be too much of a lift.
Okay.
I will try to track down a digital version and our copies as well. So.
All right. Any questions, Joel?
No, would we just continue to the next meeting and I can square this up in the meantime?
Yes.
Okay.
How'd you get this job?
The city has withheld my final payment pending a couple things, so I'm motivated.
Understood. Yep. We will be happy to entertain this again at the September 9th meeting, if that works for you.
It does. I will be there. Or on Zoom at least.
Can I have a request for continuation to 9/9?
Motion to continue to September 9th?
Okay.
All those in favor, Buttrick,
Aye.
August,
Aye.
Carr,
Aye.
Weeks,
I,
motion carries. We'll revisit this on 9/9.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to enforcement actions. Ava, do we have updates on any of our active enforcement orders?
We do not. I reached out, the Gall property owner, that was the one that Cassie told me she'd been trying to get in touch with Matt Gall. I reached out again, no response yet.
Okay.
We have a note from Cassie about 476 East Street. The note she left, was that the area has been allowed to become fully revegetated. However, none of the tree plantings appear to have survived. I think the commission has discussed this before. The commission must decide if they would like to require additional tree plantings or if any other actions to consider this matter resolved.
Okay, this is the one, they were storing vehicles in the,
No,
which one
No.
is this?
this is, I think it's the residents in the.
Oh, East Street, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they
okay.
planted some plantings somewhere. They were pretty small and they all died or something.
This is the stuff was cleared along the stream.
Yep.
Okay.
That was complete automotive, I think, instead of the one.
Yeah, you're right. And nowhere near East Drake.
Memories will seem great as mine.
I have not been out to the site yet, but we do have Cassie's photos from July 22nd of this year, if you'd like to see those. Have you seen them
I
before?
think we have. I think we looked at them. Does anyone want to see them again?
No.
So there was extensive vegetation, including canopy cover over the stream. It was all removed.
Yeah.
And we were trying to reestablish that. So my instinct is that if we have not succeeded because those plantings have died, we probably need to request additional plantings to achieve that end.
So they planted very small trees,
Mhm.
and then the brush just sort of grew over it. They
Yep.
must have not taken. Do we require a certain size tree and a certain amount, and then
I thought, and I'm just going off memory. I thought we did, but we didn't. We may not have got what we asked for. The hospital.
that's yes, I remember that.
Do you have the records, Ava, so we can see what we originally asked for?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull them up.
I think we allowed the property owner to just plant what she could. And I believe they were very small and didn't take.
Would you like the original enforcement order?
Yeah, I think that would be, well, is there a restoration plan? I can't remember if we had an official restoration plan approved or if it was just written in the enforcement order.
Let's see. I'm just finding a letter where a restoration plan is mentioned. So you did, yeah, there will be a Conservation Commission meeting on June 13th at which the restoration plan will be reviewed for compliance.
Okay.
So let me see if I can get that actually. Not seeing, let's see this.
If it's not readily obvious, we could also
Yeah.
have you add this to your list to look into for
To look
next
into,
time.
for
Yeah.
sure. Here, I mean, I will say it does outline them in the enforcement order. Let me just open that up. Can you folks see that? Should I make it a little bigger? The attached letter for more details, perhaps that.
Okay.
Let's take a look. Let's attach to this one.
Letter, there's a letter dated April 26th.
I think the April 26th letter is the one that mentions the restoration plan.
But it does details and things about.
It does detail, yep. Which I think are the same it's the same that is in the enforcement order. But I can go track down the restoration plan.
And we did have yearly monitoring for 3 years. So if we're not, we should be receiving some sort of monitoring documentation.
Yeah.
But if, they need to succeed at least that long to be considered, should be conducted with the conservation agent. Oh, okay. It was with the,
So I think those are Cassie's photos.
yes. So I think, if you can dredge up anything
Yep.
more specific as to what was originally required, but I think we need to revisit that in order to, it also says the plan should include steps to be taken to maintain all plantings to ensure survival for at least 2 growing seasons, which we did not achieve. So we need to revisit putting in some additional plants.
Okay.
Oh, and they were supposed to be a DBH of 1 inch or greater, which
Okay.
I thought so.
means they gotta at least, you know, they had to have been at least breast height
Right.
to have a DPH of 1 inch. So clearly they did not meet that. So yes, that should be what's required to put in this time.
Okay,
Yep, I think
Okay.
that's actually all we need.
okay. So don't look for the restoration plan.
You can see if there is one, but that gives us enough direction for where to go next, I think.
Okay. So I'll reach out to them and revisit these conditions that were agreed upon.
Yep.
In April of 2022.
Yep. And then we may need to clarify to the owners what a DBH of 1 inch or greater means, because it's possible that they didn't understand what that was.
Yep.
Although I find it difficult to believe that Cassie wouldn't have talked them through that.
Yeah, at the time. Yep.
All right. All right, any other enforcement updates?
There is another update from Cassie, left from two from Cassie on D, so the enforcement action D on that list. Loudville, yep. And I have not been out there yet, but the update from Cassie says that PCT is planning to send along a letter or an email confirming when that has been received, which I have not received the donation. The donation is required as a mitigation for the sediment laden water that was allowed to enter Hannum Brook, and that donation amount was determined based on what the project was projected to be needed to execute an informational campaign on best management practices for abutters on how to protect Hannum Brook. Confirmation, she just clarified that confirmation for PCT that the funds are used in a particular manner will not be required. Right. So it's at their discretion. Right. I have not received a receipt of that donation.
Okay. That may require follow-up with
Carlos.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And the last enforcement is 10 Industrial Parkway. And the note from Cassie on that one says the commission determined at the July 12th meeting that they would want to review the matter again. Yeah, that's the note, period. She says it seems likely that it could be considered resolved. That was Cassie's personal take on it.
Yep. Do we want to discuss that further now? I think I was comfortable considering it resolved.
It's resolved.
I think, is that the one where also were some planting students?
Yeah. But it was pretty minor and it's revegetated with other things.
Yeah.
We're not seeing erosion. The point of those additional plantings was to make sure it was stable. So if we're
Some
stable.
of them did survive.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that property. I went on that site visit with Cassie.
You did?
And
Okay.
it looked really vegetated.
Okay.
Vegetated with a lot of, with many of the plantings did survive.
Okay. I'm comfortable considering that a closed matter. All right. So typically, maybe Cassie gave you more specific instructions, but typically we just send a letter sort of confirming that we're satisfied and we're considering the enforcement order closed. I don't think there actually, especially with that one, there was no formal enforcement order issued.
Okay.
So I think just a letter to the owner, so that they have it for their records would be sufficient.
Yep.
And I believe that's a new owner now, right?
Yes, it is a new owner.
Okay. The new owner is in the loop on this whole thing?
Yes, he had us out there when we did the site visit.
Yep. So I would say just provide a letter so that they know that it's closed and we should be set there. Excellent. Off the list. Right. Open space updates, anything there?
No open space updates.
Okay.
On either one.
One thing that I think, given the 385 Main Street NOI,
Yep.
and the fact that one of the assumptions that development kind of hinges on is the fact that the back 30 acres is being put into a CR.
Mhm.
I think it would be helpful to have an understanding of what the timeline looks like for solidifying that CR.
Okay.
If you could reach out, I'm not even 100% certain who the contact is. Did Cassie leave you somebody?
I'll check up on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to figure that out. And it's a Kestrel and Mass Audubon co-hold this year, or planning to co-hold this year.
There was a question as to whether we were going to co-hold the CR.
With
We-
Mass Audubon.
With
I think
Mass Audubon.
Kestrel
But
was
Kestrel's-
funding it.
Kestrel's the owner, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, did they purchase the land? I think so.
I'm not 100% sure
Okay.
how that works.
It might be separate enough that we'll consider the two things.
Oh, Garrett, do you want to weigh in on that issue?
Yeah, so my understanding is that Kestrel Land Trust will hold the conservation land in fee. But that I think Mass Audubon, and I don't know whether it's, 100% said that they would hold the conservation restriction. And I can't recall what the discussion was about the city co-holding it also. Does that help?
Do you have any idea what the timeline looks like for solidifying that?
Not really. I know, as with everything else, a couple of people have been on vacation, I think, but are probably back in the saddle. And I assume that they've probably gotten pretty far down that road in terms of ownership of the various interests.
Mhm.
The only other thing I would add is I know that there's a backlog in terms of actual state review of conservation restrictions.
Yep.
That's something you probably want to build in terms of the exact final language. But
Right.
given the parties involved, I would trust them.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's helpful, but Ava, if you can get any more information on
Yep.
exactly where things stand and what the timeline might be.
Yep.
That would just be useful to know.
When Carol was here, they had asked us if we were going to do the enforcement.
Right, I know there was discussion about what our role might be in the CR.
And they haven't been back since.
Mhm.
I might have heard that answer and said, there's really no point.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible.
What was the answer discussed at the time?
That we really didn't have the capacity for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's fine if Mass Audubon holds it solely. I don't think there's any issue with that.
Yep.
They will do what they need to do. Yeah. We were not able to commit to that.
Fair.
Okay. Compliance updates. So usually the way we handle this with Kathy was just to ask her which ones she had updates on rather than revisit the entire list of however many numbers that is.
Yeah.
So if that works for you, we can do the same thing.
That sounds great. Okay, so on A, Pleasant Street Mills, starting off. Cassie and I visited the site together, with Greg Nunlund from DPW, after just shy of half an inch of rain in the past 24 hours.
Okay.
And found that the basin had about an inch of water, but overall it looked good. There's some woody vegetation, but the basins appeared to be draining and the outlets looked clear. Greg Nettleman said the DPW could do some work if required by the commission to remove the woody vegetation, but large projects like re-excavation would require a grant to provide the funding.
So let me make sure I understood correctly. There was a half inch of rain
Mm-hmm.
and you went out and looked at it. How long after?
Like within 24 hours, it was like 10 hours, 12 hours afterwards.
And there was an inch standing water in it.
Yes.
Do we have any idea what it looked like 48 hours after the storm?
No.
Okay. So I think I would like to understand if it's draining all the way in 48 hours as it was supposed to.
Yep.
So that we at least have that data point.
Yep.
So if you could look for another storm
Another
and
half
check,
inch.
check on it again. Half inch, I mean, no, it doesn't need to specifically be that, but something significant that's going to put water into the basin.
Yep.
Just to see what it's doing 48 hours later.
Yeah.
If it's not draining fully, I guess I would be less inclined to have them clear the woody vegetation, because the woody vegetation is going to be helping with uptake. If they can't do actual excavation to repair it to what it was meant to be without a grant.
I don't remember if it was supposed to be doing infiltration or what kind of basins they were, you know, it's been so long.
I think Cassie confirmed on the plans at some point recently that it was supposed to be infiltration. Did she leave you notes about that?
I think that was the case. There were wetland replication areas next to
Yeah.
the basins, but those were holding significant water as we would expect them to be. But these were meant to be doing infiltration.
Oh, so you're talking about uptake of water by plant roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In lieu of infiltration, if it's not, I'd rather have it going up if it's not going to go down rather than just standing static. At least as a temporary measure until they're able to find funds to address it more fully. Makes sense.
And I'd rather have the vegetation or woody vegetation taken off so it doesn't damage anything, you know, depending on where it is on the, you know, like if it's on the slope on the cut side, like
True.
towards the parking
Yeah.
lot, then it's
Yeah.
no big deal. But if it's on like the sides where it's a narrow,
Right.
thing,
That's a
like
good
there's
point.
pipes or whatever.
So maybe if we can get a 48 hours post rain.
Yep.
Data point for starters. And then based on what we see there, I think maybe we reach out to Diane Rossini as city engineer to get some insight into what she thinks would be the most appropriate measure given the constraints around funding. That seem like a plan?
Yeah.
Or at least a starting point.
What did you think that it might be damaging to?
Well, yeah, so I think those basins were mostly excavated but I don't exactly remember, but there's like the slope down to Lower Mill Pond and that slope comes up and there's a little flat spot and then there's the basin. So for that woody vegetation is growing on that narrow part on the pond side, then could damage what should be keeping water
Yeah.
in the basin by just having the roots penetrate it.
Right.
Like that.
I see. Okay. Did you have any pictures?
I do have photos. Yeah, I was just pulling them up. These were taken by Cassie.
Sumac or something.
And
And every invasive known to Easthampton, because that whole corridor is full of every invasive known to Easthampton.
yeah. Okay. I think they start right here. Yeah. I'm a little larger.
So is that the outlet structure?
That's the outlet structure.
Is it at grade?
Like, is it raised? Is that your question?
Yeah, it looks like it's
raised.
no, it looks like it's at grade.
Yeah.
Close. Yeah.
The bottom of the basin?
I think that's where this was.
How would that work?
If you go 2 more photos in.
Yeah.
There's
There's it's a little high.
It is, okay,
It's a little elevated.
okay. All right, it was just a weird picture. I
There's
guess.
an angle, yeah.
All right.
There's our invasives. There's more.
Recognize that.
So this is some of the woody vegetation we have in here.
That's in the basin.
No, just woody vegetation. It looks like cottonwood to me.
All relatively small still?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be the time to get rid of it if we were going
If we
to
wanted it.
ask it to be removed.
There's the sumac on the side there.
Yep.
And not filling the area, right? A lot of non-woody vegetation in
Right.
there. Mostly non-woody vegetation.
What are we seeing here?
I think my memory is this is the wetland replication area
Okay.
and not actually the stormwater basin.
That looks more like wetland plants.
Yeah. It's the limit of the photos.
Okay. All right. What else?
Okay, so for that one, great. So I'll check back up on it 48 hours after a rain event, and then I'll follow up with Diane and bring to you.
Yeah, bring it to us first. Let's
Great.
discuss what you see, and then
Yep.
we'll decide if we want to bring Diane into it.
Excellent, sounds good. Okay, nothing on. Do I list the ones that I don't know?
No, you can just skip right down to
Skip
where
right
you have
down.
updates,
Okay,
yeah.
great. 50 Florence Road, the solar project, Beacon Solar at 50 Florence Road.
Sorry, which one?
M.
Okay.
So 50 Florence Road, there was a site visit, or there was a report right before Cassie left on July 31st, saying several of the erosion controls were down, and that there was standing water and erosion controls, silt fencing down along the roadway and like close to some of the river crossings, the road river crossings, and where there was silt fencing down where they were actively doing construction.
Okay.
On Array 4.
That was a report from
their
their monitor?
Yes, from their
Okay.
monitor. And so that was on July 31st. And then when I got into the office on August 14th, there was a series of reports describing the same thing. I got out to the site on August 21st, and most of the erosion controls were up, and the reports are now almost entirely clean. Like the inspection reports are indicating that they're back on track, with the exception of the silt fencing being down along the roadway, which I spoke with the man, Jason Brown, who met me out there, who was wondering about the roadway's elevated and the silt fencing is like below, or sorry, the roadway is depressed, but the silt fencing is at a higher elevation along it, and they're not doing anything new along the roadway at this point. So he was wondering if the silt fencing along the roadway needs to be replenished, or if only around the active construction site
Those pictures you have to see.
of the roadway.
Yeah, it looks like it's down.
They're
And
driving
it
over
looks like they're just driving over. You can see the tracks.
Yeah, I can go ahead and show.
Is that really an expired order now?
Oh. Yeah, is that order expired?
So much fun in July, we missed it, maybe.
So yeah, this is the start. So this is a silt fence along the roadway as you're walking out towards Array 4. Jason Brown told me that the property owner's just been driving over it.
Okay. So the larger concern
Is the
before we even address that is they can't be working if they have an expired order.
Okay.
And they can't renew that order or request an extension now that it is expired. So they need to be fully stopped work.
Okay.
They can't be operating, period.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we could issue an enforcement order to allow whatever needs to continue to happen.
Possibly,
That's probably the best
it might be.
pathway. I guess it's, I guess we should consult with them on that.
Yeah, I don't even know what is still active out there and what's done
Which one is the one where they're grading in the whole grading thing?
not this one, don't think. That's Park Street, right?
No, it was.
I don't think.
They are still actively doing construction out underneath Array 4, the final piece of this. And there is, I mean, it's clearly an unfinished project. There's puddles of water.
Yep.
It's actively
Yeah,
occurring.
we need to issue a stop work order.
Okay.
Yeah. Get it.
This is one that the neighborhood was concerned that the water was gonna flow down, so they were gonna do regrading. They were doing regrading and some other things.
Yeah, I think it is this one.
That was Park Street, that's this one.
Yes.
I think it is.
The two solar projects are too similar in my head.
It's, yeah, me too.
They were on the same time frame, right?
Yeah.
Are we certain we did not issue an extension for this?
I'm seeing a 2024 extension in here.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, there's I'm
It
looking
may have
at
just
an
not
older
gotten
set
updated,
of
yeah.
minutes and it says expired 6/17/25 for 50 Florence Road.
Yes, I see Form 7, extension permit for order of conditions in the file. The order of conditions is extended until 6/17/2025.
Okay. Okay. Whew, that's a way better situation.
So the agenda's incorrect here.
Okay. All right. Can you please make sure that's updated?
Yes.
For the next time, so
Yes,
we don't
absolutely.
get confused again, since we can't remember.
Yes, for sure.
That in June.
I'm sure we did. We were all here, we all voted for it. We just don't remember.
It's like a collective amnesia.
All right.
So
I had some questions on some of the photos.
on the photos, yeah, I can bring us back to those. Are we still sharing this? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot of photos. So these are my photos, but then we have all the photos from the inspection report. So
Okay.
you can go take a look at those as well.
So where is this on the site?
So this is as you are walking out towards Array 4.
Where is it relative to Florence Road? Are we close? I don't know where Array
We're
4 is in
pretty
my
deep
memory.
back in. Yeah.
Okay.
You drive off of Florence Road and then you drive down along Dirt Road for a while. And then I parked beyond the at the point of the first gate. And then I met Jason Brown there and we walked a good half mile, maybe more, back to Array 4.
Okay.
So this is along the roadway. This is like a side path.
And where are the resource areas relative to this?
The resource areas, there's streams cutting through. I can't
Can
say
you pull up a map and show us?
Yeah.
I mean, typically the silt fence would be separating resource area from not resource area. So if they're driving over the silt fence, are they driving through a resource area?
It didn't appear to be so, but I'm not sure.
At least it didn't look like there was any erosion issues in that area.
Yeah. Not like the next picture. It was scary.
Yeah. Do you want the site plan? Is that what you?
That would be fine,
Yeah.
sure. Is Florence Road on the right here, I believe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is, I think, this is our road. So when Let me see my mouse on this. Okay. So you drove down, how I got to the site was I drove down here.
Yep.
Along the side of the property. There's silt fencing all along the roadway here and then parked. That I think is here and then went back. And walked this piece.
Okay.
And that's right where your cursor is? Is that where they were driving over the downed silt fences?
Yeah,
Can you zoom in on that?
yeah.
So the silt fence is shown crossing the roadway. Their drive path.
I'm not exactly sure.
What is that line that says LOC and
LOC.
something else? Does it also say SF?
Yes, it does. LCSF.
And is it shown leading up to and then turning away from that area to follow the road? It looks like it from here.
Yes.
So it was never meant to cross the road. Why do they have it installed across their drive path?
It's a good question.
Is there silt fence continuing along that path?
In
Where
this
it should be?
direction.
No, in the,
In
towards the bottom of the page direction.
Yes. There's silt fencing all along here.
Okay, can you go back to the picture?
Hmm.
And what is happening currently along the road? Are they still transporting material around the site?
I'm not sure. It didn't look like it. It looked like they were just driving back.
Okay.
Could that be the property owner and not the solar developer? It's
Yes,
just
it's the
driving
property
over?
owner or Jason Brown indicated that it was a relative of the property owner who liked to hunt on the property.
Sure, somebody found out something.
Yeah. Can
Hello.
we help you?
Can I attend the meeting?
Yeah,
Conservation Commission?
Conservation
Right.
Commission. Come on in. You can sign in if you'd like.
Okay, so based on what we were just looking at on the plan, I would
Okay.
expect that silt fence to come along towards the road and then cut along the road and follow the road path.
Yes.
I think towards us, not away from us, but maybe I'm turned around. Which direction are we facing?
I think we're facing, I think we are facing,
Or is
well,
this
there's
just
something on
not the
both
road
sides.
that we're seeing on the,
it might not be the road that we're seeing right here. I'm not sure.
so the resource area is to which side? Do we know that yet?
It could be one of the like roads. This could just be
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that it's
property
not.
owner doing.
So I think, we need to understand where the resource area is relative to the silt fence.
Yep.
Which it looks like the array must be behind that chain link to the right.
Yep.
So I'm assuming the resource areas are to the left, where the vegetation gets thicker.
That makes sense. I honestly just don't have a good enough sense of this site yet.
Okay, so we need to understand that to know if somebody is driving through the resource area or not.
Yep.
If they're not driving in the resource area, then we need to know if there's any active work that could influence this resource area that would require this silt fence to still be in place.
Okay.
If not, let's have them get that silt fence out of there.
Down.
And
Okay.
then we don't have the illusion of somebody blatantly violating the rules that are needed for protection.
Yes.
And if they are driving through the resource area, then that's a separate question that we need to discuss.
Yep.
Great.
Okay. This is also along the roadway.
Yes, this looks problematic.
Yes.
Which side is the resource area here?
Yeah, I still don't know.
Okay. Is the next one the same area?
Yeah.
And so can you match up these two photos so I know which side is which from this photo to the one before?
Mm, I think I need to return to the site and get
Okay.
a better sense of my bearings.
Okay.
And be able to show you folks how the photos line up on the actual plan.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, so if you could get a better sense, I mean, the one before this looks concerning.
Yep.
But it's hard to know which side that material is moving towards and where the resource area is.
Yep.
So if you could go back and rewalk these areas with an eye to whether you're actually seeing wetland impacts.
Yep.
And then report back to us on what you're finding. Yes, that would be helpful. And if you are finding areas where like this silt fence, maybe this has already been repaired, but if you're seeing areas like this where there is a wetland impact and the silt fence needs to be repaired, if you can direct them that needs to be repaired immediately.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So these were some of the wattles and the silt fencing right along the stream, right around the crossings.
Okay,
But these had been replaced by the time I'd gotten out there.
okay, good.
We discussed here with Jason adding additional straw wattles or hay bales there.
Okay. It does look like material is piling up against them.
Yep. This is the standing water described
Okay.
in the inspection reports. Standing water described. Yeah,
So this was my question. Can you go back to that?
this one right here.
No, forward. I'm sorry.
This one right here.
Yes. So that big mound in the back
Mhm.
and to the left, I don't know if you can open it up, but is that Japanese knotweed?
I would say yes, because there were giant mounds covered in Japanese knotweed on the site when we visited it prior to the permitting of the project. And I suspect those are the same ones.
Didn't we have a invasive?
I'm certain that we did. Yep.
So this is where the silt fencing was described to be down. This was the most concern from their monitor. And this was put back up. It does appear as though it came down in the other direction.
The wetland is,
Yeah, behind. I'm looking like the arrays are behind me here.
okay,
So it does appear as though the silt fencing had come down like away, like the wetland the water was coming from the wetland towards the array.
which it could be. Yeah. It's hard to tell. It's not clear whether that's towed in properly, but it looks almost like it's towed in backwards towards the wetland.
Yeah, it does look like that. I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Okay. I'll come back to the site. Okay, and provide an updated report.
Thank you.
Down to 65 Lovefield Street.
Mhm.
There was an annual vegetation. We received an annual vegetation monitoring report from
Okay.
GCA. That was generally quite positive, indicating a robust herbaceous layer and that the tree plantings are in good condition
Okay.
in the file. And down to item O, Hasty Town. the Tasty Top development. We do have a public statement to read.
P on here.
Oh, that's P on here.
Make sure we're done.
Oh,
Right.
yep. We do. Let me just make sure the number. Sorry. Okay. Yes. Okay. So that was item O was 65 Lovefield Street.
Mhm.
My lettering was off. And then moving on to item P, the Tasty Top development. Okay. I received a public comment from Catherine Wazowski, which I will read into the record on this.
I'm sorry, is that you or you just happen to know the name?
That's me.
That's you. Okay. That's what I thought.
The comment is, states, quote, "Good afternoon. I'm writing to express concern regarding events at the Conservation Commission meeting on 8/12. The developer for Tasty Top LLC came before the commission to request a change in the scope of service for the construction monitor. He expressed frustration over the cost and level of qualifications of the person that would hold that role. Frank also indicated he did not believe the construction monitor needed to be present at the site for as much time as outlined in the RFP. The discussion regarding the construction monitor, their role and qualifications and costs has been occurring for months. I have attended many of the meetings. The discussion was thoughtful and focused on protecting our dwindling resources. Had Frank or his staff participated in the meetings, the cost of the construction monitor would not have come as such a shock. During Monday's meeting, I would characterize Frank's behavior as an attempt to pressure the commission into doing what he wanted. His behavior came across to me as an observer to be bullying and entitled. On at least 2 occasions during the discussion, he mentioned that he was going to be discussing this with the mayor and the city council, and that he already had a call out to the mayor. He suggested that the mayor and city council would not be happy about the impact on this project. Frank indicated he was going to seek funds from the city to cover the costs of the construction monitor if the commission was not willing to bend to his expectations. I would hope that neither city staff, including the mayor, nor city council would capitulate to his expectations that the city pay for the monitor. Any meetings with the contractor representatives of the city may be a violation of public hearing process and potentially violate open meeting laws. To undermine the work of the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board in this process would be a mistake. This development will negatively impact quality of life in Easthampton. The developer has put in the minimum amount of low-income housing units to qualify for tax credits. The majority of the development will be market rate or commercial or retail space. The city does not need to expend any more funds in support of this project. As concerned citizens, we will be watching and reviewing the details of how this project is sold.
Thank you, Ava. Thank you, Catherine. I will add, I did speak with Mark Stinson, our DEP circuit rider, to talk through with him some of the issues that were raised by Frank at the meeting. He was in agreement that what we have required to date is common for what commissions typically would look for, especially on a project of this scale. I did also have Ava confirm that the applicant had the opportunity to review the RFP before it was issued by the city and expressed no concerns at that point. So they knew exactly what we were asking for consultants to price for us, and were not concerned until after the fact. And as a note of interest, there was a Mass Live article that ran quoting the applicant as saying that this was roughly $100 million project. And so what we're requiring for environmental protections amounts to less than 0.1% of the project cost, which I think is certainly reasonable to ensure that we're doing our duty to the public and to the resources that we are tasked with protecting. That is my update on that matter. I've not heard anything more official as to whether City Council has been approached or if that conversation has gone any further.
There's an email chain that shows he wrote to the mayor. The mayor forwarded it to the city's attorneys, it looks like. I don't know what's happened since then. That was July 24th.
Okay.
I haven't received any update on any other updates.
Yes, one thing I've seen.
All right, continuing on. That is it for the updates on the projects.
Okay, excellent. Do we have meeting minutes ready to approve?
We do.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt. My name is Ron Mendez. I was hoping I could speak on the matter of item Q, the Easthampton Housing Authority at Allen Street.
Oh, yes.
I apologize if this is probably the incorrect moment.
No, you're correct. We skipped you. Thank you. Thank you for speaking up. I appreciate that. Yes, would you like to, so yeah, this is item Q, the Easthampton Housing Authority, on the question of the bond, the stormwater or lack of stormwater bond. Okay. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, please. Thank you. I appreciate the time and the opportunity. Yes, I was wanted to discuss this because as part of the conditions, a performance bond for stormwater management system was issued, or was, I guess, part of the conditions, I guess, for approval, which we understood at the time and it's perfectly fine. I just wanted, I guess, to more so say if perhaps if we can substitute the bond for the stormwater with the bond for the overall project. I guess it's just as part of the bidding process, the contracting process, when the project was awarded to the contractor, they have to get a performance bond for the entire project. Not just the stormwater aspect. So really what I was hoping to do is just say if we can use that bond for the entire project instead of the one just for the stormwater portion of the project. And that's really it, I guess. Is that when the contractor was trying to provide the bonds and stuff like that, so I guess it was just noted that, well, there's already one for the overall project, and the state agency, in this case, being the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, formerly known as Department of Housing and Community Development, is the one backing the project. So again, really, it was just, we're not trying to avoid the bond. We're just trying to say, well, we have this bond again for the project, and we're hoping we could use that.
So the construction bond is between the contractor and which party?
In this case, it would be to the Easthampton Housing Authority.
And the Easthampton Housing Authority is a separate legal entity from the city of Easthampton, correct?
My understanding is yes.
So
I could be wrong, but yes.
Then I don't believe that works because it is the city of Easthampton that is requiring the stormwater bond. So I don't think that we could accept your construction bond in lieu of that. Because that bond is to protect you, whereas we're looking to protect the city.
No, but I mean, in this case, it's trying to protect the agency. It's not myself being that, it's just the agency, the executive office that they're trying to do that.
I'm sorry, how is EEA involved as what is their connection to this?
So, for instance, in this case, even though on paper, really, it's the East Housing Authority that, you know, they're on the project itself because that's their property, but ultimately the funds really come from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
So the purpose of the bond that we're asking you for is assurance that the stormwater system is going to be constructed as designed if
Yeah.
that's the case. Exactly. Which if it were, I think the issue that we came up with during permitting was just that since Easthampton Housing Authority is a different entity from the city of Easthampton, that the city being the Conservation Commission and everything, just wanted assurance that work would be completed appropriately. I think even for the case of like the Mountain View School project,
We would have required a bond, yeah.
well, I almost want to say I don't remember, but I think we did accept the construction bond as being sufficient because of the public backing of the project and the, and it being like a quasi city entity or whatever. So, but I don't really remember.
I just was gonna say, the note from Cassie, I haven't gotten up to date on this project
Yeah.
yet, but the note from Cassie is that, yeah, so the one provided doesn't list the city of Northampton, but the state housing authority is what that bond is to, is what
Mhm.
Cassie's note
I see.
says.
I see.
The commission must determine if this is acceptable in lieu of a bond that it lists the city. She states, I recommend the city accept this proposal as a state organization and is unlikely to abandon the site or stop existing as an entity. They expect the work to take 3 weeks and aim to start late summer, early fall.
So the big, like this, so what this project is what, like an enlargement of a parking area and some stormwater features. So most of it is
Precisely.
stormwater,
Right.
and that's kind of like is what the project is. And so the bond here, which is going to some other entity, not even Easthampton Housing Authority, but the purpose of this is that it gets constructed as it's supposed to be constructed.
Yes, and that's
If we
correct. I mean,
if we need weigh-in from the city solicitor, because we don't have wiggle room in our stormwater ordinance to not have a bond. That's a requirement. So I don't know if we have the authority to just decide to accept one that's issued to someone else.
in this case, I mean, like the bond was issued for the overall project. When we tried getting the bond from, let's say, the state agency, they already said, well, we already have it for the overall project. And we tried looking again at the backing company over here, and they said, well, again, you have already this in place. And again, it's for the overall project. So they're not looking to just abandon the project. And, we have a reputable contractor that works with the state agency in other locations. And again, this being the state agency, so it's not like they're gonna, abandon this project fully.
Can the city of Easthampton perhaps be listed as an additional, not insured, I don't know what the word would be, on the bond?
Right. I see what you mean, but we did try asking about that to the bonding agency about this. And they, honestly, at the time, they weren't, no, well, you already have this in place. So they're like, well, what do I do? So I guess that's why we're here, just trying to say, well, it's there in place for this.
But I'm not asking for an additional bond. I'm asking if the city of Easthampton could be named as an additional covered party on the bond.
Understood. And that's what we did ask at the time.
And they said
if
no?
we could, and they said no. Because obviously that was a condition, like you say, if the city, that was pointed out by Kathy, if we could add the city to that. And this is where they said, well,
I think we need to run this by the city solicitor, because if they've explicitly said that the city of Easthampton can't be added, that makes me question whether we would have a claim if we needed to make a claim.
sure, that's perfectly fine. I mean, the bond has been provided, the copy of the performance bond has been provided. So that's whatever, no problem at all. It's already in your possession, so.
Okay, so I'll reach out to the city solicitor.
Okay.
And see if we needed to given that that the city of Easthampton isn't listed on the bond,
Mhm.
if we needed to collect from the bond, could we collect?
Or in their mind, is it acceptable that this would cover the stormwater requirement under our ordinance?
Okay.
And again, it'd cover the entire project. I mean, the project.
No, I understand. I know exactly how a construction performance bond works. I just don't know what the legality is relative to our stormwater ordinance.
Okay, cool.
We'll look into it.
Sure. How long do you think that would take?
I'll try to have an answer by the next meeting.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I mean, obviously. All right, that's fine.
And Ava, if you're able to get a clear answer from the city solicitor and they say it's okay to move forward.
Yep.
You can give the okay that this condition is met and they can move forward. We don't need to weigh in further.
Great.
But I think we need outside opinion on this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did allow something like this before for a city project. But the details
Yeah,
obviously matter.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, back to meeting
Okay.
minutes.
Back to meeting minutes. So I have the 7/22, don't have printouts of them. I apologize.
That's okay.
They're in the folder. I have the 7/22 meeting minutes accepted with Commissioner August's corrections, or with the corrections, and then I have the 8/12 minutes also with the corrections.
Okay.
In the folder.
Motion to accept, to approve the minutes as they have been issued with Commissioner August's changes.
Second.
All those in favor, Patrick,
Aye.
August,
Aye.
Carr,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Series. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Next, general business matter is an invasives management proposal at in the stormwater basins at River Valley Co-op. And we have the licensed pesticide applicator who I met with out in the field to speak to that. We also have his proposal. He's here. We would like it in great copy. So in the folder.
Yep.
Would you like to describe?
Yeah, I'm Matt Burson. I do invasive plant control. And mugwort has gotten itself established at the meadow at River Valley Market. And it would have been nice to have tried to address it a couple of years ago, but now it's probably a quarter of the meadow. Mechanical control isn't really possible at that scale. So some herbicides like the ones I list there, some glyphosate-based herbicides, and another one, an aminopyrrolid herbicide, which is also approved for areas near. It doesn't have an aquatic label, but near water is okay. Actually, the glyphosate-based herbicide has an aquatic label if applied at the right rate and concentration. So yeah, and even on that, and I guess that it's hard to make out the mugwort from the other plants, but I've got a protocol that's it's a little complex because I don't want to kill everything and I don't want to go around with a dabber, be on my hands and knees for 6 months there. So we've got to do some foliar application. I sort of broke it out into areas of high density, like 90% or more mugwort, which I call the homogeneous sections, and then the heterogeneous sections are a mix, and then we've got scattered populations. So in the scattered populations, I will do stem dabbing. I propose to.
Is that, if I can interrupt, does that mean cut stem and dab?
Yep.
Okay.
In the heterogeneous areas where it's just kind of a mix, I propose spraying and just sort of, racking up some losses in terms of the beneficial, the native the wildflower plants that are in there. But And then in the areas that are solid, mugwort, I actually was there today and I mowed it to prevent it from going to seed. So it's a little earlier than we would have liked to mow, but in the name of preventing, you see that real silvery foliage is about to set seed. So, that's been mown, and then the proposal is to treat it with an herbicide that grows, in October.
Okay.
So I'll be using, I won't be able to be real selective in that case, but it's, I'll use overall fairly small quantity of herbicide. It's going to be a small amount of vegetation to spray.
Mhm. So you mentioned Roundup, but you also say Roundup Custom for Aquatic and Terrestrial, which is the surfactant left out so that you don't, that's why it's approved for wetland use, right?
Yep.
Okay. Usually I don't see Roundup listed in association with that version, but I suppose they probably are making it as well.
Yeah, you used to be able to get rodeo was probably.
Right, yeah, okay, yep.
But
Yep.
for reasons I don't understand, Corteva stopped manufacturing rodeo or stopped it. I think they just don't sell it in Massachusetts anymore
Okay,
to use rodeo, but I can't get it anymore. So,
Okay. And then the other one, I'm not familiar with Milestone.
Yeah. It's an herbicide that's used pretty much just for vegetation management and utility right of ways. It doesn't really have a label for turf and ornamental. It has a label for vegetation management, invasive plants, pasture and range. And it's a selective herbicide, so it won't kill the grasses, which there's a lot of, in addition to all the beneficial wildflowers in the meadow, there's a lot of grasses, warm season bunch grasses, and it won't kill the bunch grasses. So it will, hopefully leave us with, I'm going to be using the combination because I'm going to have to use, I'd rather use the Milestone throughout, but it has pretty strong activity on lagoons and they have some trees there. So I don't want to use it close to those trees.
Mhm.
So close to those trees, I'm going to have to be either cutting and dabbing or just killing everything with the glyphosate, including the grasses.
Okay.
And we'll, I made recommendations that they seed heavily with grasses in the spring.
Okay, and so there is follow-up seeding that's proposed.
They apparently seed every year.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
And which is great. I don't know if it's necessary with that density, but they definitely will have to after this. It will not, it's going to take a few steps backward in terms of the greenery.
Yep. And what do you anticipate? Is this going to be a multi-year treatment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. It'll be, I think we'll make a lot of progress. It's always daunting in the beginning, but after we break some eggs, we can make a lot of progress, and so at least 3 years.
Okay.
We'll get most of it in this year.
Okay. And Ava, I think I asked you to confirm that they have, as part of their condition, a ongoing invasive management.
Yep, precisely. Yeah, it's the, it's item 68 in their in perpetuity claims, non-native invasive plant species monitoring and management, continued monitoring and management of non-native or invasive species on site to prevent the spread of non-native and or invasive plant species within the project area, including but not limited to the stormwater basin.
Okay. So this is very much in keeping with their order.
Yep.
And proactive in a way that we typically do not see. So I'm happy to see that River Valley is attempting to handle this situation. I'm comfortable with the plan as outlined. Are there questions from other members of the commission?
Should have let we had that condition in there.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Now this is, like, you're standing in front, facing River Valley. This is just.
It's around Captain Jack's. Like if you're eating there, and it's on the corner of, I can't remember the name of the crossing.
Lyman Street.
Lyman Street. It's on that corner. It's not the greater expanse out.
Not all the area further towards town.
Yeah, That's
Okay.
different. That's the resource area.
So this really is in the basin.
This is really
Yeah.
the basin. Yeah, you
Okay.
can kind of see the edge in this image. You can see the edge of
Yeah.
the co-op right there. We're kind of looking, we're
Mhm.
standing close to Lyman Street, looking out at the basin.
And you may have said it, what's the acreage we're talking about?
I calculated about 2/3 of an acre total.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, so is there a certain time that you do that? Does this affect?
Well, I showed up tonight because, time is sort of the essence for this application. I mean, it's sort of a rush job. It's not a rush job. I want to do it correctly, but it's late in the season. It's about to set seed. So I want to deal with it before it does that. It's a good time to spray. Lots of plants are really susceptible to herbicide at that stage of their life. So,
Does this affect pollinators?
the herbicides themselves won't affect the pollinators, but there's definitely going to be collateral damage. I want to avoid it as much as possible for a bunch of reasons. But I think in the long run, it will benefit pollinators because mugwort, I think I mentioned, it's wind pollinated. It doesn't have, it's not a nectar source. And so there's pollinators aren't going to be able to make a living on it, and it's slowly overtaking the pollinator plants that are intentionally
Right.
put there.
And we have the extensive meadow adjacent that's not being treated. So I think there's plenty of pollinator habitat to sustain anything that's out there working right now.
My goal is there's definitely areas that don't have, there are areas of the meadow that won't be affected, but it's kind of out of hand.
Any other questions?
Nope.
I mean, I don't really have a question for you. I guess I'm curious if River Valley Market has this invasive species management plan. How you said that it's a pretty big invasion that's kind of gone on too long, if I understood that correctly.
I mean,
So just,
there's nothing special about them in that regard. Most people let the invasive plants take over before I get called.
Mugwort
But yes,
also
it's-
looks like other things.
it's
and it
really
can take
hard
a
to
while
tell
to
right
notice, so it's understandable.
no, it's not a failure on their part.
No, I don't think so.
But it looks very similar to a lot of native species.
It seems pretty
It's mugwort.
interested
It
in.
sounds so innocuous.
It's a neat, it's got a nice herbal smell. It's apparently some herbal qualities.
Some medicinal properties.
Has medicinal.
They harvest that.
And sell it.
I think there was actually, she said that was a proposal last year. They may have been trying to come up with a solution last year that involved harvesting and using it. It would be a lot.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
All right, so we don't need an official vote on this. We just need to give our approval. This is something too that I discussed with Ava that in the future, since this is part of an ongoing condition, if she was comfortable, this is something that with Cassie, we had said, you can go ahead and make these sort of approvals yourself. But because this was new, we wanted to just bring it before and make sure we all talked about it. But but we're comfortable going ahead with the plan. So
Great.
you're all set.
Okay, great. I'll be happy about that.
Yeah.
Proceed. All right, great.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our last item is wetlands ordinance discussion. So we need to regroup since Cassie left to get rescheduled for the working group. Ava, do you have that list of folks to email?
I don't know if I do. I definitely have the folder of the ordinance itself, and a folder of both of your comments. Cassie flagged that for me.
Okay.
8-1 comments to add.
Yep.
But I don't know if I have the list. I can go ahead and look for it.
So it's myself, Deb, and Tom Lotzenheiser of TCT.
Yep.
Are the working group.
Okay.
So once you've had a chance to get your head around things,
Yep.
if whether that's this week or if you need a little more time,
Yeah.
if you could reach out to us and let's just regroup to schedule a next meeting.
Excellent.
Okay. And where we left off, just for everyone's benefit, we have, I think, a solid draft. It was, Cassie had comments from everyone to incorporate, which are now Ava's to incorporate and look over. But I think we should be just about at the point, once she gets her head into things, that we can bring it to the larger commission and then start talking about the process of getting other boards in the loop and getting input and starting to build momentum to take it forward to council and have a vote at some point. Hopefully in the relatively near future, given that this has been on our agenda ever since I started, which is so many years ago.
The relatively near future, should we be reading the draft in preparation for discussion at the next couple of meetings, or are we talking like?
I don't have an answer to that. We want to give Ava time to get caught up and then we'll let you know. Yeah. Right.
All right.
Anything else?
I think that's it under general business.
Okay. And I guess we should formally, on the record, welcome our new agent. Thank you, Ava. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
And with that, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Set.
All those in favor, Butchick?
Aye.
August?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Carries. It is 8:14. We are concluding the August 26th meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Our next meeting will be September 9th at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.